Board. Welcome to Rural Community Food System meeting number 5. Pleased that you're all still here. Bachara is here driving through Beirut on his way home, so that's what's on his picture. And let me go ahead and share my screen. Where is it? Share. Okay, all right. So Bob sent me an email which he thought he posted to the issue, to one of the issues threads, but I can't find it. So he was making a comment about the email. So go ahead and Bob, make a comment about the email, and then we'll continue on with other things. Are you still there? I muted you. Okay. Now you can go ahead.
I can't remember who brought it up first about Nixon and Earl Butz and the grain deal with Russia, but I was trying to frame the mapping. There was a bifurcation point, I think, in the 1970s when that happened, and it reframed some of our mapping that could have been done. So I'm just saying that it becomes important to frame the information within the duration of time that you're talking about, because the maps that we are making are framed within continuous time, not snapshots, and so therefore it becomes important to, when you tell the story, to frame it within a certain duration of time. And what I sent was, not to be nerdy, was, I mean, this is at the heart of even physics now, because they always have to map something and frame it within a certain scale of time. And so we're doing the same things here as they're doing in physics.
Okay, so if we're creating a map that's supposed to be an as-is map, it may go into the past to some extent to explain how as is as it is, okay, as opposed to developing a map specifically about how things were once upon a time. So to an extent, I think I agree with you about doing a time framing, though from the map being an as-is, meaning now, when you tell the story, usually, well, often when you tell stories, you tell them about how things led up to the way they are at the moment. So that's my thought about time. Anyone else have another perspective on it?
Can you include the article in the issues so we can all see it?
I don't think it's in the issues.
No, I know it's not now, but can somebody put it there? So, because I didn't get the email.
Yes. Bob, why don't you put it under updates?
Couldn't this time framing be somehow captured in the title of the map? Something like, you know, some note.
Like Rural Community Food System now?
Or you know, in the from, I don't know, defining it from the 60s to whatever. You know, could we, because this is a really fundamental concept, right? If we are talking about a rural community food system in the Stone Age, is different from today's.
Yes. One could develop a relationship map to say this is the way the food system. In the Stone Age, it was all rural, wasn't it?
Yes. Maybe I was extreme.
Yeah. Okay, I understand. I think the point came across well, and along with that point, I think something that I wanted to mention today, in that it's delightful that people are posting all of these links to other things, other references that they consider appropriate. The references currently posted as part of this project would take at least one lifetime to read, I think. So my thought is, if you're going to post a reference, a link to something, you might include a note as to what aspect of that link that you consider to be relevant to this project, so that 8 people don't have to go read the whole link to figure out what it was that you thought was meaningful about it. Because I'll tell you, I probably won't get to 5% of them. Not because I don't think they're relevant, just because I'll never find the time to do that. Though I'm pleased that you're posting them for reference, so they're there if someone wants to dig into them. I think it would just be more beneficial to the participants if there was just like a 1 or 2 sentence saying, you know, this is, I read this article and I really thought that this aspect of it was relevant to this project, and here's the reference if you want to dig into it deeper. Okay. I have several things that I'd like to talk about, and then we can open it up for other thoughts. If you look at the map at the moment, you'll notice that we now have 3 different size connections, 3 different weights of connections on the map. And this was, I believe, due to Brian, which he changed and I changed and he changed. And I think that it's meaningful to provide a sense of these connections are considered to be more weighty, more relevant than the other ones. Not to say the other ones are not relevant at all, but they have a weighting associated with them. And the way that he did this was to go ahead and modify the script to say, based on using tags, that if the tag contains strong, then the size of it's 14. If the connection says weak, then it's size of 3. And after looking at that and looking at the way that he did the tags, there are lots of other tags that are in here for other things. And my thought was, maybe we should simply go ahead and add a new variable, that's a new field that's part of the model, and change that internal definition so that it works based upon the connection strength that's selected. If you don't select one, the default is medium. Any thoughts about that in terms of using this as opposed to using?
I like yours.
Okay.
I think it's a good idea.
Okay. In about 3 minutes after this call today, I can change all of the existing tags to connection strength fields in doing a group edit. So it's not difficult to update the current map. Okay.
And that would be reflected in the advanced perspective write-up.
So when I do that, this will change. So it says connection strong, and it'll say there'll be a different selection here that won't be based upon a tag. It'll be based upon that field.
Okay.
Okay. And this strong, medium, and weak, because of the way that it's defined in the script, will apply both to adds to same and subtracts from opposite. So you would be able to do the same thing for one of these. I mean, it's a connection strength regardless of which kind of connection it is, which type of connection it is.
Good, because I realized that what I did would not be able to apply to the subtracts from or opposite. So this is a much better solution.
So that's one thing. And then the references. What I also noticed was there were a couple of issues that were closed because we exchanged thoughts on them, and they got to a point where closed was appropriate. There are 4 of them. What I realized when that happened was that when you close an issue, it doesn't remove the asterisk off of the project. So that if you go to R2, which is still gets you to R2, there's nothing there. Oh, because I was looking at closed. What? Oh, okay, sorry. There's an old R2 and then there was an R2 new, and the R2 old, the old one got closed and the R2 new got renamed to R2, and it's just in the call that Alex had yesterday about Kumu, we talked about the problems with the links not working when you change the labels on things for issues, and he's going to talk to them about changing this link here so that it works based upon what's called permalinks. They went ahead, well, internally within Kumu, it doesn't matter what you call these things. Each one of them has an identifier that is defined in terms of map, connection, or loop. And if you'd notice down here at the bottom, it says map dash and a bunch of letters and connection dash. That's called a permalink, and once you create the entity, if you change the name of it, that link doesn't change. That's why lots of times you get links from me. If I copy this link and put it up here, I always do this when I link to my projects, because I'm constantly changing the names of them, and if I change the names, the links don't work. So I use the permalinks. There's a permalink for the map for every entity on the map. So if you select the map, there's a permalink down here for the map. If you select an entity, there's a permalink for that entity. And you can see part of it here in that it's the map introduction and the connection, and that's the permalink for the connection itself. So, so the point that I was trying to get to is it makes it seem like even if we work through an issue and come to closure and close the issue, the asterisk is still going to be on the map. And is that okay? Or but
is there any way to get rid of that asterisk? Or do we have to go deeper into the belly of the beast?
The only way that you can get rid of the asterisk is to actually delete the issue itself. And that bothers me because of all of the history that's in the issue.
Have to think about that for a while.
Okay. Though if would it be better if when the issue is closed, it actually took the asterisk off the map? But then you wouldn't know that there ever was an issue for that. There was an issue for that entity on the map. So suppose you ponder that for a while and post it. Oh, let's do this. Where is this? New issue. Issue. Should the asterisk go away when the issue is closed? So you can go there. What? Oh, sorry. I don't know how this works. Okay, so there is a new issue called issue asterisk, and you can post your thoughts to that. This is a search window. If you want a new issue, you say new issue, and you put the title in after you say new issue. And all right, sorry, I was confused. The other part was I had mentioned the other day that this had been fixed so that rather than doing all that partial views coding, there was a standard default coding that allowed this structure to get created automatically based on the definition of loops, so that you could walk by renaming the loops based upon 01, 02, 03, whatever. You could walk through the structure using Showcase and actually see the pieces one by one. There's a difficulty with this because Showcase is very different than Focus, because once you can bring this into view, but you can't look at the pieces that are connected to it. Oh. What? Make a liar out of me. Okay, never mind. Forget everything after I said hello, because for some reason this isn't working the way I thought it worked the other day. But the part that I think Brian mentioned, which based upon the way that we've now numbered all this stuff, if I select this and actually focus on that particular loop, if I go up here and do 02 and select it, it actually adds it to the focus so that I could build out the connections to this and actually investigate it piece by piece. The part that is weighing heavy on my mind is, suppose that I had never been here until today, and I come here and I want to understand this and possibly offer comments on it. How do I figure out where to start? How do I come into this in a way that allows me to get a sense of it without just being overwhelmed by it? Because if I just look at it piece by piece, that doesn't give me, I don't get the set of relationships that are meaningful. All I get is pieces. Does that make any sense?
Yes.
Yes, it does.
Okay. Sometimes I think I just gone off the deep end.
No, I was thinking of this concept. Isn't it similar to what an executive summary does for any document of any type? As we know, the important people are not ready to read more than one A4 piece of paper. If they are really passionate, they will read 2 A4 pieces of paper. And that has led to the need of creating so-called executive summaries, right? Which is a summary of complex stories, complex and long stories, right? So maybe this is an approach that we could adopt to introduce a newcomer to a complex model.
Well, but Char, if I'm going to present some aspect of this to, oh, sorry, Franco. If I'm going to present some aspect of this to someone who has not been involved in developing it, I'll go and create a presentation that sort of distills out as much of the complexity as possible to build essentially what you talked about, an executive summary, to say, here is what we found and why. At the same time, those of us who have been involved in the last 4 sessions are somewhat familiar with all of the content to an extent, though I go away from this from 3 days and I come back and I say, duh. And so because there's a lot there, okay? And because I'm working on some other things, but I come back and I want to go ahead and review it to say, all right, does this still make sense? Is there some aspect of this? A loop should be an abstract definition of the meaning of the loop itself. So while there are all of the elements and the connections of the loop, and they should all have some description, the loop itself should define the emergent characteristic of that set of relationships. So that gives you an executive summary for each one of the loops. But you have to be able to sort of work your way through the maze to figure out where to make comments. So part of my whole intent was to see if we could figure out how a group of people could develop relationship maps, sometimes together and sometimes asynchronously, because we can't be together all the time. It's nice that we get together once or twice a week so that we can sort of mumble on to each other, though this map will exist and we'll stop working on it so intently at some point in time, yet other people may have thoughts to actually improve it. And the question is, how do they make sense of it and how do they do that? Which is why a few days ago I started creating this set of videos. There's a link in the project that gets you to this set of videos that I started creating the other day. This talks about what it's all about. This talks about templates and issues and members and updates, profiles, elements, connections, and loops. And I have 5 more videos to create tomorrow so that one can come here and look at what I created to talk about loops and how you define them, how you edit them, how you change them in the context of the project. So that's why I haven't been working on the project itself much for the last few days, because I've been off creating videos. And this Systems Wiki Collaborate link would be under references in every project going forward. So those are the items that I had on my agenda to talk about today. So I'm done. We'll open it up for comments from other people.
Well, Gene, one thing I think of with your reference to how to start in this would be, I think of this kind of like a spider web, and the spider did have a continuum of building the network of all the points connected, but it will depend on, even though there's that chronological time of how we built this map, other people are going to walk into it and have to find the structure there without knowing how it was chronologically built, and that's the dilemma anyway.
Right. They won't know how it was chronologically built, because some of the pieces that existed at points in time might not even be there anymore. Though we have to leave a trail of breadcrumbs for them to follow, so they at least have a chance of being able to ferret out what we thought was a meaningful way to unpack this set of relationships in a meaningful manner. Yep. Which is what I think the the showcase does for them, for us, so that it unpacks this piece by piece. I changed this so that it's not one at a time, it's cumulative, and if you don't want it to be cumulative, then you can just look at any particular one. Turn that one off and turn the next one on, or look at two of them or three of them together. The reason for doing that was, when I look at this, because things are so small, well, okay, here's R1, where's R2? Okay, if for somebody that hasn't been here and it's hard to read, well, it's right here, but it's real hard to see that it's there. This allows them to figure out where the pieces are quite readily.
Okay, yeah, because in the language evolution, sometimes you can frame it into parents and children, and so you can't have some of the loops without having the parents on there to explain it at least once.
Right. Other thoughts? Everybody's muted, so unmute before you talk. It's going to be a short meeting today. Sounds like everybody's quiet.
No, I like Bishara. I like this feature of having the line with different thicknesses. It helps, but still probably we have to limit the large thickness to few loops. It's probably it's normal that we pinpoint everything is important, but still probably we have to reduce this the large line widths, no, to limit them for 2-3 loops or 4 loops, and then.
Right. I mean, you can't. If you have too many things that are critical, nothing is critical.
Yes.
So one should use the strong indication sparingly.
Yes.
It boils down to the classification of the strength, right? But we have all come across millions of times with the concept of red, amber, and green that top management likes very, very much, right? And because they like to see a graph or a table or whatever that has 3 colors, so it's very simple. But if you use some kind of conditional formatting, obviously red will be something that has been classified, I don't know, strong or whatever. So it's a matter of giving a little bit more or defining in a more detailed manner what the strength is about. Because I agree with Bashara's comment on the number of loops with thick lines, right? But it all depends on why those loops have been, or those lines have been defined as strong rather than medium, rather than weak. It's a tricky one. I read sometime, I wonder if you've read this before, that somebody has made some studies. I wonder if I've already told you about the way our brain works, and the result was that our brain works very well if we deal with 7 to 9 entities at the same time. Have you read this before? Have you seen this before?
I've heard about the 7 to 9.
Yeah. Right.
I know that when you make a tree structure, yes, you have to limit yourself to 7 to 9. Otherwise, the tree structure becomes crowded.
Difficult to, yes. This is actually magic because, you know, I've always wondered why not 8 to 10. Anyway, apart from the number, it's obviously clear that our brain cannot deal with large numbers of entities at the same time. Because if we go back to the concept of a tree, right? And I've already told you that it's part of my profession, so I've had this discussion many, many times. At any level of the breakdown of any tree, you shouldn't have more than 7 to 9 entities. Otherwise, at that level, if you have 20 entities, 20 children of one parent, you would lose. You wouldn't be able to grasp the meaning of what you're talking about, right? So this limit is something that I think we should keep into account because you know, these studies indicate that it's a limit of our brain, of the average human brain. So if we go back to our chart, there shouldn't be more than 7 to 9 strong lines or loops, which imposes some choices. What if we had 10? One of them has to be demoted to, you know, from strong to medium.
And my own personal experience developing models is that even in extremely complex sets of relationships, there are typically a very small number of archetypes at the center of that structure someplace that primarily govern the behavior of the structure. There are lots of relevant interactions, though there's a success to the successful, or shifting the burden, or a tragedy of the commons, or accidental adversaries, or something that's at the center that's really responsible for the overall behavior of the structure. And that's the aspect that really needs to be attended to. And the rest of it is simply fallout from that particular set of interactions.
Yes, in your modeling of strong, medium, and weak, you know, that event of the grain deal in 1970. At 1970 point, it was certainly considered just a weak little thing. But then if we map it out in the 1990s, all of a sudden it becomes the biggest, strongest, thickest one in a perspective of a certain story.
It's the typical nature of reinforcing structures producing exponential growth, which tends to be very, very small for an extended period of time, and then all of a sudden it gets very large. It's like companies that go out of business typically say, "How did this happen?" Well, it happens very slowly for a long period of time, and then all of it all at once.
And then one could argue that maybe a couple small farmers in a small town saw this as a huge thing way back before the top-down administrators ever thought it was important 20 years later.
The way that a few farmers realized that regenerative farming was actually far more beneficial than the typical industrial farming approach, and something that Klaus has been pursuing for quite some time. Sorry he's not here today.
So Gene, you want me to bring up the connection from local production safety concerns to local consumption?
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that.
Yeah. So I asked a question about it. So how does this relationship work? It would seem to argue for a decrease in local consumption. So
where was it?
It was A connection from local production, it should be about the 4th issue down.
A connection from implications to shift in value system?
No, it should be a connection from local production to,
Oh, why don't I just search?
yeah. Because I don't have control of the thing.
There it is, right there.
Fifth in the list.
Search works. Look at that. So Brian posted this note about, so how does this relationship work? It would seem to argue for a decrease in local consumption. And my comment was, isn't it marvelous about the confusion that exists when we don't spend the time to put comments on the connections that we make and identify what it was that we meant when we thought we meant something. So the difficulty might be, what did we mean by local production safety concerns? Influence, because the way that it reads is that if you increase local production safety concerns, local consumption goes down. That's the way that I read the relationship.
I think I have raised this question that probably local production, they don't have the safety measures that big companies, plants, they do. So sometimes they do mistakes, they have problems with the quality, and this refrains people from buying local. They go to Nestle because they know Nestle, they have a quality control much more stringent than a local farmer, let's say.
So would that say that if local production safety concerns increase, local consumption would increase?
Will decrease, because if we are concerned about our safety, sometimes I'm only speaking about, let's say, safety of production, no? Because I also thought during these days that we have to add that local farmers or local production, we do have all the benefits, not only of the flavor or whatsoever. We have the benefits of vitamins. When we buy from a remote producer, we lose in general all the vitamins. Let's say vitamin C, we are losing it 50% every day, and things like that. This is probably as yes, here I'm talking about safety, not about the let's say the value of the nutrition value. Nutrition, if you are concerned about the nutrition value, yes, the local consumption will probably increase.
So maybe this should actually say local production quality as opposed to safety
yes,
concerns?
Yes, or safety. It is safety, because sometimes you can get E. coli, you can get you know, a bad preservation methods or whatsoever that can yes, I feel more safer to buy, let's say, Nestle, but I know that as a nutrition value, or as a if it is well done in a local production, yes, for sure it's better for me.
Okay,
but I always have this concern.
So if I am more concerned about the safety associated with local production, my local consumption goes down.
That makes sense to me.
Okay.
It also works the other way. Local production is also connected positively to local health concerns. So if I have local production safety concerns, I'm going to go in the other direction, and I'm going to have a greater concern with local health regulations. But then
This is true. It's okay. It's fine. Yes, I agree. If it's a health concern, let's say, yes, local is will increase. If it's safety only, safety, I think it will decrease.
But if you do what Gene showed before and you bring up O3R and add it to what we have here,
Why doesn't it come up?
that's a good question.
Oh, there it is. Okay.
Great, great. All right. So, safety concerns puts an increase on local health requirements, but then local health requirements seems to decrease. How did I put it? I got it over here. I wrote this about the thinking I had behind this.
Okay.
I just walked the whole O3 loop to try to figure out what it was doing.
And the O3 loop is right here, right? This,
Right. Exactly. Yes.
Okay. So as I increase local health requirements, if I put more requirements on local production, it diminishes local production. If local production increases, it increases this food system, increasing that increases community health, which increases desire for local food, public awareness, incentives. As I increase incentives, it diminishes. Well, if I increase incentives, why would it?
That's a good question.
Ah, okay. All right. So if I increase the incentives, that shouldn't diminish the requirements.
Maybe we just get rid of that connection.
It would seem that incentives would increase local production.
Which I have someplace else.
What? There's.
I mean, I have a connection between incentives.
Oh, yeah, there is. Okay, that's there.
Right.
So it would seem that this connection doesn't go there.
Yeah. I mean, I can't see you making it positive either. I think it's just it's not needed.
Going once, going twice.
Gone.
You can remove it.
Yeah.
Which means there's still a loop there, but it's a different loop.
Yeah, exactly. And you have to add the line from incentives to local production.
It's so if I take this, where was it? Search, what was it? O3.
O3.
If I take O3. Let me find O3. Where was it? Oh. What did I do? Delete the loop?
No.
No, I deleted the loop label.
That's the same word. You just don't have the line anymore.
I know I don't have the line anymore, but I can't find.
What are you looking for?
I'm looking for the O3R label.
That's a good question. You gotta still have it someplace.
Well, it has to be there. So I mean, it comes up.
I know. Try O3R. Get out of here.
Get out of here.
I mean, clear everything out. Clear out the whole map. And then go back to 03. Oh, and pick something else. Get out of this narrative too.
Okay.
Okay, now put 03R and see where we come up. And then focus. Okay, it's got to move someplace. Maybe it's down here.
Well, I didn't zoom to fit. It's.
All right, let me see if I can find it.
I haven't had this happen before.
I've got it.
Well, where? Oh, wait a minute. Let me do this. There are 11 updates to this map. All right. So let me reload the map. There it is. Okay. So let me clear the focus. Go find O3R. Tell it that I then want. I don't know. See, it does that because it's so small sometimes. O3R, pencil, and goes from here to here to here to here. And then where? Back. Take this out and put this in. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Save. An exercise in confusion live. Okay. So I mean, you get a sense of how easy it is to get entangled or ensnared. Though if you follow, oh, is it still an R? Oh, it is an R. Okay. You can also, if you don't remember that, if you mouse over something and simply click and hold on it, that will bring that into focus. There are just numerous ways to go ahead and navigate your way around the map. Was there only one of those, Brian, or was there another one?
Yeah, there is another one. Hold on. Let me try to find it over here. Go to my side. Wait a second here. You gotta move all your heads out of the way. R3 we did. Search for public awareness and issues. I'm sorry, I meant to search for public awareness and issues.
Oh.
We're gonna have to get out of here first. Yeah, there. It's right at the top. Okay. So focus on public awareness now.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And then expand it once. Let me agree. There you go. Okay. Actually, go ahead and put the O5R in.
Oh, never mind. Sorry.
No.
Public awareness. Focus on that, and then bring in O5R.
Okay. So, like I was saying one time before, public awareness had two connections going into each other. This O5R loop didn't really go in one direction or the other, okay? So I threw a couple of more connections that you see on the bottom here, trying to resolve that. The same issue happens with R11 too, which has also got public awareness as a component of it. So that has to be worked out also.
So 05R currently is not a loop.
Right, it's not a loop.
It could be a loop if you took out this connection and put this connection in.
Right, or you include this connection and just have a smaller loop. I mean, it seems to me that public awareness does have to go in both directions for education, desire for local food, and probably even local government awareness. It can't be a unilateral communication. It has to be two-way communication.
Right. This right here, public awareness to education and education back to public awareness, is a reinforcing loop all by itself.
Right, exactly. And the same thing is true for desire for local food.
Right.
And the same thing could be true of public awareness and local government awareness. If you had a good communication relationship with your community.
Well, from local government awareness to where?
To public awareness.
Oh, this one.
Yeah. And all three of those together do support the whole 05R, and they would also support 11R.
Okay, so the sequence that we've been walking through is exactly what I was trying to figure out and understand, is how you start from a single element or a single connection in an attempt to understand the context that we have built for it, and ask the question, does this actually make sense? I'm just trying to say I thought this was a good exercise. Thank you for bringing it up. But we're not done yet. So we added this piece.
Right.
And then there's still a question about the definition of 05R. This one of this has to come out, and this goes in if you want this to be the reinforcing structure. Okay. Or you take out both of these and put in this one and this one.
Or you do what you just said and then add another loop that goes in the opposite direction. Put the two new in and call it R12.
Well, take this out and put these two in?
No, it doesn't work. Sorry, I was wrong.
Leave this. That's R5. That's R5?
That's R5.
Okay. And then you want a new loop.
Let me think about that, though.
Called O12R.
Well, you've got one between public awareness and education. That's one loop. And then you got an R13 between desire for local food and public awareness. And you got an R14, public awareness to local government.
Okay. Oh, I do?
Well, you could.
Okay. All right. Sorry. Loop.
Yeah.
What's it called?
Let's do public awareness education R12. Excuse me.
12R.
12R.
Which goes from where's it go?
Okay, you can't see me. Public awareness to education.
Public awareness to education. Okay.
And then education to public awareness.
Okay.
All right, there's one.
Okay.
And let's do public awareness to desire for local food.
Cancel. Loop. 13R.
13R. Okay, now you're going to include your 12R if you do it this way. You have to deselect.
I'll take them out. Okay.
All right.
You want to do this one over here?
Right there, yeah. There and there. Okay.
And then we need another one, which is 14R.
14R.
And we deselect these two.
Right.
The easier way to do this is simply click in the background before you add another loop.
Yeah, exactly.
14R, and then click this, and add this. And we have, okay.
Okay.
Amazing. Okay.
All right. Can you focus on
No, wait a minute. Before you continue, notice that this ends at 11R. To get this to actually function when you add loops, you have to reload the project.
All right. Okay, that makes sense.
Gene,
Yes, sir.
in Insight Maker, you can box, let's say, those loops that we were working on, and let's say rename the box as awareness.
Oh yeah. There's a
And this
folder.
means-
There's a folder capability in Insight Maker that doesn't exist
Yes.
in Kumu, and I've been talking to them about that to be able to do abstraction on the fly, and they're not yet convinced.
Because it will simplify the diagram.
Oh yes,
No?
tremendously.
Mm.
We
Oh.
could make a loop that included all three of those new loops we made and just make it one major loop. I mean, it's not technically a causal loop diagram, it's causal loop diagrams, but you can do that with Kumu.
Well, I particularly like what we just went through, because if I was trying to change the policy in a local community, I might take the long effect of first affecting the education, public awareness education, and then taper in the local government over time, because the local government might be more of a constrainer than a helper at spurs. So the dynamics of the different ones helps me make a plan on how to increase public awareness without being squashed.
Right.
Right, and when, I mean, oftentimes I find that I'll go ahead and I'll make the relationship, and I'll come back to it a few days later and I'll look at it and say, no, I really think that there should be a link from education to desired food as opposed to local government, and I'll end up having to move them. I mean, it's a trial and learning experience as you begin to better understand what it is that you think,
Right.
or what you think evolves. So it's why, I mean, a lot of people, I'm convinced, don't build relationship maps because they're afraid of making a mistake. And collectively, all of you should have realized by this point that we have made one learning after another to get to this point. I mean, we started with one element.
Gene, can you focus on 11R for me?
Sure.
Just by itself.
Oh, there it is.
Okay, so this had the same problem as 05, but there should be a line that we can use to make it go into one direction. Maybe from public awareness to education. I know, yeah.
Put this one in and take one out, so
Right.
that if I select 11R, I can go ahead and, all right, let me do this. Close this, go back to 11R.
So take that top one off and then put the bottom one on, and that should do it. At least as far as the direction goes. Now, whether or not it makes sense pragmatically is a different question, but it does make a proper loop that way.
Right. Yeah, okay.
Okay, that's it.
No, that's it for the moment.
That's for that 11R.
Okay. But I think that all those that we have gone through at the moment have been real good exercises in realizing that I thought this made sense this way yesterday or on Tuesday, and then I looked at it today or in between, and I realized that it doesn't quite make the sense that I thought it made, and you have to go through the exercise of actually reversing the links or adding new links or connections and changing the definitions of the loops. And this has been good in terms of looking at how you actually change the definition of a loop. Put things out, put things in, and take them out. And yeah. Right. Other thoughts? Are there any aspects of the interaction with the map that any of you would like clarification on at this point? Don't ask me why it's so complicated, because I can't help you with that one. Okay. In that case, continue looking at it, add to the comments. I will go back to talk to the Kumu people about whether or not they can go ahead and get the asterisk to go away when we close the issue. Did we come to that point? Did we, or were we still trying to figure out whether that was what we wanted?
No, I think that's a good piece of work.
I mean, that way the issue interactions don't go away, but you don't think that it's current. You can go to closed and you can look at them.
Right.
They're there. We haven't lost it. It's just not something that needs to be of concern at the moment, because we sort of put it to bed.
If you close something out, can you reopen it?
Yeah.
Okay. So if I close out some of the ones I brought out, if anybody wants to, they could reopen if they want to. But
yeah, right here. So this is a reopen issue.
Yeah.
It seems to make complete sense that you could. I thought last week that this was a closed issue, but well, it wasn't actually closed. We need to do some more investigation along this line of reasoning. So. Well, I appreciate you guys endlessly. This is it's been a long time that I've been trying to get a group of people together that would actually expend some mind cycles and try to figure out how to go about doing this together, separately. It's sort of like an accordion back and forth. And I think we're getting closer. I think my understanding of how to give someone somewhat of some guidance as to how to run into this mess and how to look at it in a way that they can figure out whether or not they would add something or change something or whatever. Is there something else that we should talk about today?
That's enough for now.
One can only stand the headache getting so bad at any one point in time, right?
I think we're past our 7 items already, so our brains are.
Okay. All right. So I would offer you that I will continue working on this set of videos. I noticed very early on, or very quickly, that the realization of all of the things that ought to go into the video are not always there, and I've started making notes about, well, I left out this and I left out this, so I have to redo this video, and I'll probably have to redo most of them, so that if you get a chance to look at any of them and you say, well, you should have talked about this, let me know.
All right, sounds good.
I will ensure that from this point forward, every time we create one of these projects, there is a link here that says Systems Wiki Collaborate, which gets to that set of videos. And I went back and put that link in the template, in both of the templates, so it's there. Just more trial and learning today and tomorrow. So I thank you all,
All right.
and I'll try and schedule another session for next Tuesday.
Sounds good. All right.
Okay.
Everybody have a good weekend.
All right, bye all.
Okay.
Bye.
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 Great
Bye.
session, guys.